Hey y'all, this stuff with these cast aluminum gearboxes for the car wash, it's turning into a regular mini series. Here we are again with another little bit of work to do on cast aluminum on these gearboxes. And I don't know if you saw the last video. You can scroll back and check that out if you want. But one of the ideas I came up with on the last gearbox that I repaired was to take a piece of regular forged aluminum and using a 1/8 inch aluminum plate, weld it onto the cast aluminum gearbox to strengthen it. And we found out that adding that plate isn't going to have any negative effect on the car wash. It moves the car wash brush upward 1/8 of an inch, which is no issue. And so I welded that plate onto the last gearbox that I repaired for my buddy, and I took it down to the car wash, and he liked the idea so much that he wants all of those gearboxes to have that plate, which means they have 4 gearboxes on the car wash for the 2 bays that are in operation. They've got 2 other gearboxes that they've bought that are spares. One of the ones that I have here that I'm going to be welding a plate on right now is one of the brand new spares. So that's going to be the first time I get to weld on one of these gearboxes when it's brand new. But let's take a look at what these plates look like. These are the 6 1/4 by 6 1/4 square plates. I've marked out 5 of them. They get a 5-inch hole in the center, and that allows me to slide the plate right over this shaft, and I'll push the plate up against the housing. Now generally these housings, these ears will break off right here, and the idea is that since this cast aluminum is brittle enough to break like that, we're hoping that by putting a 1/8 inch plate of aluminum here and welding around it, that maybe that will help to stop the thing from doing any further breaking. Little tip on marking this aluminum. It's pretty common to mark aluminum with a felt tip marker like a Sharpie. These work for a lot of stuff, and I've used them a lot. One thing is they make a pretty wide mark, and I'm not a big fan of marks being wide. I would rather they were kind of sharp. I make pretty sharp marks on steel with a sharpened soapstone, but soapstone's obviously a real light color, which doesn't work good on aluminum because it's also a light color. But what does work good on aluminum is a lead pencil. But what you'll find is that new aluminum or shiny aluminum, it doesn't show up very good. The reason this is showing up as good as it is with the lead pencil is because I hit this with a sander, and that's a good trick to to get the marks to show up. And even the circles, the circle marker, the small size circle marker that I wanted to use, which is like a compass style marker, it actually holds a lead pencil. So, being able to sand this and make it where that pencil mark shows up good, and I'm going to be able to see that when I'm cutting. The sander was a good trick. And remember too, anytime you're sanding aluminum, whether it's with your 4.5 inch grinder with a sanding pad like over there, or a dual action sander like this cordless one, it's nice to have some beeswax. You get your tool running and run that beeswax on your sanding paper. That's going to keep that soft aluminum from gumming up your sandpaper. Otherwise, you almost can't sand that aluminum. I mean, you can sand it a little bit with one of them sanding pads, but if you don't have the beeswax to put on your sanding pad, and I'm telling you, it just takes a little bit. I've talked about it before, and I can't stop talking about it because I'm so amazed at how well it works. But you just get this thing spinning and go just like that. That's all you got to do. You know, you do that every once in a while as you're sanding your aluminum. And one of those will do 10 times the amount of work that you'd get out of it if you didn't have the ability to put the beeswax on it and get that gummed up aluminum out of it. So the next thing is going to be cutting out these parts, and then after that I'll probably remove that flange from that gearbox over there, and we'll weld one plate on the brand new gearbox. It'll get beveled. In this case, I'm going to go around with my sander and I'll give it a little bit of a bevel around here, and we'll weld a plate on. And then further on with this idea, what we're going to be doing is we're going to get in cahoots with my buddy that owns the car wash, and we're going to be shutting down the car wash at a time when the weather's bad and people don't want to wash their cars anyways. We're going to shut things down, and we're going to take those gearboxes off the car wash. We're going to take them off. We're going to bring them in here in the shop. We're going to TIG weld the plate on the gearbox, and we're going to get them back down there, put it back together. That way that all of the gearboxes will have this aluminum plate. And we're hoping that stops the issue with the cracking, because it's obvious that this is going to go on and be a thing. The original gearboxes broke in 9 months. I welded those up, and it took 16 months, and they've broke one. So by adding the reinforcement weld that I added whenever I'd worked on those, it made it last a little longer. We still got some guys that are trying to run their modified trucks through the automatic car wash, and it's just not going to work out. You know, if you got the big tires and the aftermarket bumpers, and these brushes, they're going down the side of that vehicle just spinning to beat the band, and the sensors think that they need to go into that area, like between a bumper and a tire, because it's such a huge area. The sensors think that the brush needs to go in there and clean. Well, if the brush goes in between a steel bumper and a 38-inch rubber tire, it don't keep turning. It comes to a screeching halt and bad things happen. So, you know, they've got signage all over the place down there not to run the modified vehicles through there. No lift kits, no big tires, but it continues to happen. Hopefully one of these days, you know, we'll get this issue worked out and not have this problem anymore. But I'm going to get these plates cut out, so let's get to work. We can take a look here at what I got welded up. Got the plate on there. I had beveled that cast. And the goof I got right now, I didn't put any holes in the plates because I was planning on just taking my drill and running it through, which I did here and here. And over here where the worm gear is, I can't get my drill in there. You know, this thing's in the way. So the next thing I'm going to try to do, I'm going to take another plate and clamp on this one. And I'm going to drill through these two holes, then try to rotate that plate and use it to mark my other holes. Should be the same center to center. This might be a quick way to do that. Made pretty good time on this one, getting this gearbox welded up. And since I know that it's a kind of a thing to deal with those holes, and that worm gear is going to keep me from just running my drill through it, I'm going to go ahead and drill the rest of them using this one that I did the 2 holes in as a pattern. Been down the car wash and picked up another gearbox. My buddy was supposed to take 2 of them off. He wasn't thinking right, and he only took 1 of them off. So he's working on getting that other one off right now. But let's take a look at this one. This is one of the ones I welded on in September 2022, where this ear right here and this ear right here had broke off on a few of them, and I don't know if it did on this one or not. I don't think it did. This may be one of the ones that didn't break but got built up. It's hard to tell right now. But this weld that I put on around here, where we had a couple gearboxes where the ear broke off right here and right here, and that extra weld I put around there definitely made these things last longer than the original, because like I said, originally we had them break in 9 months, and after I did that to them, we didn't have one break again until 16 months. So hopefully with this 1/8 inch plate that we're putting on these, that's going to make them last longer. So I'm going to clean this up and get the plate put on this one and weld it up, and hopefully my buddy will have that other one taken off by then. We'll do that one too. That would make 2 more left that we still need to do. So we're going to stay at it. Stuff got a little more interesting. I was welding up that piece, welding up that housing, putting the plate on it. Tim was going to bring the other gearbox whenever he got it off there. While that was going on, he got that other gearbox off there, and he got a hold of me, and that gearbox that he took off, which is one of the brand new ones that's never been welded, is broke. And the arm that it's fastened to is twisted and tweaked to the extent that we're gonna have to try to straighten it somehow. And he sent me a picture of how it was tweaked and bent a little bit, and in the picture I could see a broken weld. That gearbox turns these spinning brushes. It's inside of here. I see what he's talking about, having a problem with his arm right here. That's supposed to be level. So this one's got stuck, and it's got stuck in between a tire and a bumper, in between a tire and a fender, and it's jerked so hard it's bent that whole arm up. We're gonna have to see what we can pull on to try to get that back down. Not supposed to be like that. Looking a whole lot better. We took a come along and hooked down to the track of this machine. That track's pretty strong. We run a come along down there and we pulled on this, and we've got this arm straightened back to level. What remains to be done is where that weld's broke in there. I'm gonna cut that weld out. I got the ARCCAPTAIN TIG 200P in here. I'm gonna plug it in. I got it plugged into the Trailblazer 302. I'll be running off the 240 volt outlet on the truck. I'll be running through a 100 foot of 10 gauge cord that I've got, and we'll get this thing welded up. All right, look, shut the LEDs off here in the break room. I want to give you a little rundown. I've got a bunch of video about stuff that went on with the ARCCAPTAIN TIG 200P, where it didn't want to run off the Miller Trailblazer. Down there at the car wash, tried to get it to run. It didn't want to run off the 240 on that Trailblazer. I switched it to the 120, as you saw. And in the video, I got the welding done. I needed more heat than I had. What I did with the machine running off 120 volt, it took me probably 3 passes to do what I could have done in 1 pass if I could have run it off the 240. I shot a bunch of video when I got back here to the shop. I'm in the break room now, but when I got back to the shop, I shot a bunch of video testing to find out why I couldn't run that or what was going on, if there's a problem with the machine, if there's a problem with the Trailblazer. I don't want to include all that video because everything's going to run too long. I'm going to try and give you a quick breakdown on what I did. I got back to the shop. Obviously, the first thing I did is I took the ARCCAPTAIN and I plugged it back into the shop current, and it worked fine. No problem running it off the shop current. Then I wondered, well, maybe my Trailblazer doesn't have enough power. Well, I went to my old diesel machine, my Lincoln Commander 300, and I plugged the ARCCAPTAIN into the 240 outlet on the Commander 300 Lincoln. That's a big 1,500 pound diesel machine. Well, it ran. It worked. That made me wonder if, now that we know that the ARCCAPTAIN will run off a generator because it'll run off the Lincoln Commander 300, I said, well, is there something wrong with my particular Trailblazer, Miller Trailblazer? Is there an issue with the outlet or something? Or would the ARCCAPTAIN not run off of any Trailblazer? Well, I've got two Trailblazers. There's another Trailblazer 302 of mine that's on the skid rig that goes on the old dually. So I fired it up and I plugged the ARCCAPTAIN into the 240 on that Trailblazer. And I got the error code E32 just like when it was plugged into the Miller Trailblazer that's on the Super Service truck. So it won't run off either one of my Trailblazers. But it will run off the Commander 300, so it will run off a generator. So at that point, obviously, it was time to contact ARCCAPTAIN, get with my guys there, and see what they had to say. I got a response from them very quickly. They got back to me within an hour or so at first. We sent them an email. They got back to me really fast and they said, we're going to look into it and I'm going to make sure my man that I usually contact with ARCCAPTAIN said he suspects it's part of the voltage protection. He's going to check with the engineers and be sure and get back to me. Next day, he got back to me. He said that there is a voltage protection system in the TIG 200P, and it's probably set at 265 volts. So if that being a 240 volt machine, if it senses more than 265 volts, you're going to get E32 and it's not going to work. Well, obviously I went and got a meter and I checked my Trailblazer, and there's times that thing fluctuates so much that it surges up to 270 or 280 volts. And that's the issue. So, evidently the old Commander 300 diesel doesn't fluctuate crazy high like that, but the Trailblazer does. Now, if you follow my channel, you've probably seen in videos more than once, I ran my ARCCAPTAIN MiG 200 off the 240, off the Trailblazer, and I didn't have a problem. Now, I don't know why the MiG 200 doesn't have that surge protection, or if it has protection, it's set higher. I don't know. I'm going to maybe send another email to ARCCAPTAIN and see if I get an answer on that just for fun, but the main thing that I found out is I'm not going to be able to run the TIG 200P off the Trailblazer. And it looks like I'm going to need an AC TIG machine that I can take with me, mobile, and run off the Trailblazer. Now, I used to run a high freak box because my old Trailblazer 302s have AC welding current on the machine. See, the Trailblazer 302, you can flip it on DC plus, DC negative, or AC. And I used to run a high frequency box off that and TIG weld aluminum mobile using the Trailblazer's AC welding ability to run it. I sold that high frequency box when I bought my Primeweld 225 because I decided if I had the Primeweld 225, I wouldn't use the high frequency box. I would just plug the 225 into the 240 outlet on the Trailblazer and run it that way. Well, this was the first time that I really needed an AC TIG mobile, and I never even tried, up until now, I never even tried the Primeweld. But I just tried. And my Primeweld 225 TIG will run off the Miller Trailblazer, no problem. So if I need a mobile AC TIG, I can't take the ARCCAPTAIN. I'm going to take the Primeweld. So I'm going to do some welding with the Primeweld. And you may have heard me mention before, or maybe not, but I do have another slight advantage with the Primeweld 225 is because I bought an aftermarket accessory for my Primeweld 225 that's a TIG button. And the TIG button is from tigcontrol.com. I'm not affiliated with them in either way, in any way. I'm just telling you that they make a good product and I like the product. The TIG button from tigcontrol.com that you can get for like Miller machines, Lincoln machines, and it is available for the Primeweld. As far as I know, it's not available for the ARCCAPTAIN yet. You could contact TIG Control and ask them. But what the TIG button does is it does the same thing as a foot pedal does, but with a button. So on your TIG torch, there's a button that you press with your finger. And the harder you press the button, the more amps you get. As you let off pressure, it lowers the amps. Works just like a foot pedal, only you can do it with your finger. And I'm still to this day amazed that that button can sense just my little finger pressure and adjust the heat. But it works. I've used it a bunch and it works. That's an advantage in the situations like if you're up underneath of a vehicle, TIG welding. If you got a TIG weld off of a ladder, you know, there's a lot of situations where you can't just sit down and use a foot pedal so easy. That is an advantage to me, having the TIG button for the Primeweld. That's a leg up for Primeweld for sure. Another thing about the Primeweld is now we know that my ARCCAPTAIN TIG 200P won't run off the Trailblazer that's on the Super Service truck. Won't run off the 240 outlet there. The Primeweld will. That's another leg up for Primeweld. And I also want to mention kudos to Primeweld because I have got on the phone with those guys several times. And they're good guys. They're always helpful. There's a phone number on a sticker on the back of my Primeweld machine. There's a toll-free number. And when I've had an issue, I've called that number and an American answers the phone, answers my question. And I'll tell you what Primeweld did. One time I accidentally stabbed a TIG rod into the back of my Primeweld machine and ruined one of the two cooling fans. I had a stainless steel TIG rod in my hand and I was reaching around to turn the gas bottle on and I stabbed into that. I had the stainless steel TIG rod in my hand and I stabbed that stainless steel TIG rod into one of the cooling fans in the back of that Primeweld and it ruined the fan. And I called them. I said, you're going to have to send me another fan. I ruined this fan. It's my fault. They didn't charge me. They sent me a fan, didn't charge me. And I told them it's my fault. I figured that, they'd have to charge me for it. They sent me that fan for free. And that was totally my fault. I figured I'd have to pay for that. Primeweld is a good company as far as I can tell you on that. And that's another leg up for Primeweld. But obviously, I'm really impressed with ARCCAPTAIN as well. And I am affiliated with ARCCAPTAIN. I do have a link where you can go and buy ARCCAPTAIN products, and I'll get credit for that. And if you use the promo code NBS Welding, I'll get some credit for that. None of that stuff's a big deal to the point where I'm going to come on here and BS you about these machines, though. You know, if there's a positive or a negative one way or the other, I'm going to tell you. I mean, I'm not being affiliated with ARCCAPTAIN like I am. This ain't something where I'm going to make money BSing people. That ain't going down. That ain't happening. I'm the no BS welder. That's just how I roll. But I can tell you, you know, the ARCCAPTAIN, I feel like, man, it welds aluminum. I think it welds aluminum better than any AC TIG machine that I've run. And I think the last time I ran a really expensive TIG machine, it was a Miller Synchrowave. And, you know, I've always wanted a Dynasty Miller, but I can't afford it. Here's the bottom line. Look, to have a Miller Dynasty TIG machine, you got to be able to make some serious money tigging with it. And I can't. I mean, I don't get that much call for TIG work. Believe me, if the work was there for me to make the money to cover buying an absolute professional grade TIG machine, I'd go right to my local air gas and I'd tell my man Jay, hey, order me that Dynasty Miller TIG machine and I'm going to pay you the bucks for it. But the bottom line is, in my work, there is simply not enough call for that kind of machine. I'd never even be able to pay off the machine, let alone make any money with it. So, you know, the last time I was on the ARCCAPTAIN site, when I see they had that TIG 200P on sale for like $650, man, that's a smoking deal. That's a smoking deal on a fantastic TIG welder. You know, now you're in the realm where a guy like me that does professional welding and occasional AC TIG, I can make some money with that machine at that price. And a hobby welder can afford to pay that for that machine, even if he don't make no money with it. You know, I mean, I know guys that spend that much a month on their hunting leases. So, you know, it's like that kind of money, you can do that. The TIG 200P is a very good AC TIG machine, and I'm very impressed with how small it is. The MiG 200 and the TIG 200P ARCCAPTAIN machines being so tiny and so lightweight, it's just a handy little thing, man. And you know, to be able to move that around and it be as capable as it is, and you know, when you're not somebody that uses a machine like that every day and you got to get it out of your way, you just, you know, you grab that thing, you put it up on a shelf, get it out of your way or whatever. They're impressive. But that's the 15-minute breakdown on the last. I've got an hour or so worth of video about not being able to run this machine off the Trailblazer. So I'm just trying to give you the 15-minute breakdown on it, and we're going to get back to the gearboxes, working on the gearboxes for the car wash. Might get more into the Primeweld versus the ARCCAPTAIN deal later. I don't know. I like both these companies, so you know. But I'm going to be straight with you on all of it. So, back to the gearboxes. Got this one prepped to weld. So I'll be fixing this where it broke and welding the 1/8 inch aluminum plate to the bottom too, and then Tim come by and brought the other two that get the 1/8 inch plate on them. So we got TIG welding to do, and we're going to be doing it with a Primeweld. One more. So that's the final one. Got the 1/8 inch plate put on this one. And this one, and this is the brand new one that had the one broken tab that had to be welded back on. And it got the 1/8 inch plate put on the bottom. So at this point, all the gearboxes they've got, the 4 that are in use, there'll always be 4 in use. 2 in each bay for the 2 car wash bays, and they have 2 spares, and all of them have the 1/8 inch plate welded on the base of them now. Hopefully that helps them out and stops some of this breaking that's going on. Got the plates on the gearboxes. This is turning into a mini series with all this cast aluminum welding with these gearboxes for the car wash, but hopefully this will last them a little while, and I appreciate y'all watching. Hey y'all, CB here, the No BS Welder, coming at you with this t-shirt on because I wanted to show you the new t-shirt. NBS welding here on the chest, got the American flag on the sleeve, NBS welding on the back. Get a hold of Tina, send us an email at nbswelding@aol.com. Get a hold of Tina if you want one of these shirts. $25 plus shipping and handling. She'll get you a shirt. So I'm plugging the shirts, and while I'm plugging the shirts and doing commercials, I just as well throw in my Thrive. Now, my Thrive system, if you didn't see my Thrive video, I can put a link in there and you can check that out later. The Thrive system is the supplement system that I've been taking. I'm on my 7th year. 7 years I've been taking Thrive. It's a supplement system. I start out first thing in the morning with these capsules right here. These capsules right here, this will get your turbo spinning. First thing, you get out of bed, as soon as my feet hit the floor, I take these 2 capsules right here and I drink me a glass of water. First thing. Then, within half hour to an hour later, I make a shake. This is a micronized powder. I'll put it in about 10-12 ounces or more of ice water. Shake it up real good, drink that down. Whenever I take the shake, I put on a patch. Now, there's different patches. When you go to the site, you can see whichever one you want. This is an Elite patch. This is the Elite Formula Shake. There's also the Standard Formula. If you want to know the difference, I think the Elite is geared a little more towards weight loss, and I think the energy from the capsules is a little more spread out. On the Elite, it's more of a slow release. So the Elite is the new one, and then there's a Standard Formula. I'm taking the Elite right now, but I've taken the standard formula for years. I took the standard formula for over 6 years. But if you want a supplement, if you're the kind of person like me that wants a supplement system, you know, I said before, there's some people that don't take supplements. They don't watch their diet. You know, it doesn't matter if they exercise or not. And they feel good, sleep good, they look fit, and they don't have to, they're just like that. And there's one thing I know for sure about those people is that I'm not one of them. Unfortunately, I got to take my supplements. I got to pay attention to what I eat. And I got to stay active or I'll gain weight. I'll gain weight and I don't feel good and that's no good. And nobody wants to get fat and lazy, you know. And as I'm getting older, you know, I've got to do a little more all the time to keep myself, man, I want to be right there. You know, I want to be on it. Every day I want to get up and get going and do it. And I got to stay at it, man. So the link will be, there'll be a link in the description of the video, and you can find out where to sign up for the Thrive. If you sign up for the auto ship, you get a discount. And don't freak out because it's auto ship. You can cancel it whenever you want. But signing up for the auto ship will save you some money. But this Thrive supplement system, that's going to be your vitamins, minerals, your probiotics, your prebiotics, CoQ10, glucosamine, caffeine. But it's not caffeine like caffeine that's in coffee. It's not like caffeine. This caffeine, they extract it, you know, from different ways and different sources. It's not just like the coffee caffeine. There's no crash with this. And if you follow this system, you get up, you take your capsules, you drink your shake, you put on your patch, avoid all other caffeine. You don't want to be drinking coffee or Red Bull. You don't want none of that. You don't mix this stuff. You take your Thrive and you'll get the energy and you'll stay active and you'll have reduced inflammation. You're getting all your vitamins and minerals, and you're going to fill in those gaps, those nutritional gaps that need filled in. You'll feel better, you'll look better, and be better. So if you want a t-shirt, $25 plus shipping and handling. Send us a request send us an email, nbswelding@aol.com. We're taking some pictures of the shirts where we can throw up pictures every once in a while with that email address in between the videos, and buy a shirt. Sign up for some Thrive. Get it on auto ship. Get to taking that. And let's roll.